Water. The main substance you will use is water, and a container, a jar, or even a paper cup will suffice. Jars with screw tops are ideal when working outside. As you paint, you will change your water and rinse your brushes at regular intervals, so you will need a few litres of water during your painting session. Brushes. A bewildering amount and type of brushes are available to purchase. However, you needn't buy a wide range. 3 will suffice. A pointed, bristled brush, number 6. A brush with straight cut bristles, number 6. And a small brush for details, number 4. The numbers of the brushes will appear on the handles. Watercolour brushes usually have short handles. Initially, buy medium-priced nylon bristle brushes, which are more than appropriate for beginners. If you find that you're becoming hooked, then start to buy the more expensive sable brushes. Paint. Your paint can be either pans, which usually come in a tin container, or tubes. Pans, or bricks, are compressed paint which can be diluted directly with water. Tubes can obviously be squeezed out as and when they are needed. Whichever paint you use is your personal preference. The tins with the pans are obviously more practical for painting outside in various locations. The colours you will need are crimson red, vermilion red, cerulean blue, Prussian blue, lemon yellow, and lemon ochre. This is in fact a cold and warm of each of the primary colours. Paper. Watercolour paper is as a rule quite thick, and one side of the paper is rougher than the other. You can discover the rough side by gently running your fingers over it. This textured surface is the one on which you make your painting. Again, you will discover a huge number of types, weights, and colours of watercolour paper, which vary from brilliant white to a rich cream colour. Different suppliers buy from a range of paper factories, and the best quality paper can be extremely expensive. Buy 220 gram paper or above, but shop wisely and economically, as even the most expensive paper will not make you a good artist. Paper is available in loose sheets or pads. Palette. If you decide to use tube paint, ceramic palettes are available to buy, but in the first instance, a paper or china plate will suffice. The tin which contains the bricks or pans of paint has an area in the lid in which you can dilute the paint. Invest later in more high quality expensive materials when you know exactly what your needs and preferences are. Drawing materials. You will also need an HB pencil, a short ruler, and some masking tape, which is sometimes known as fabric tape. Materials for painting techniques. To make textures, surfaces and lines, you will need a roll of cling film and differing lengths of thin card. For very little outlay, the basic materials can be purchased. These are very easily transportable and will last for some time, allowing you the freedom to work in various locations with ease and to record your personal memories in a unique manner through the medium of watercolour. This is a colour wheel, which scientists and artists have developed to explain colour and how it works. However, in reality, colour does not in fact exist unless light is present. When it goes dark, colour disappears. The way in which the colour wheel is presented can be interpreted both scientifically and emotionally. The circle of colours could suggest the seasons of the year, with spring at the top, represented by the pale greens and lemon yellows, moving on to the oranges and hot reds of summer, which in turn move on to the rich reds and purple blues of autumn, and then the colder blues of winter. Alternatively, the colour wheel could represent a complete day from dawn to daytime to dusk to night and back to dawn again. If colour theory is confusing to you, this is not a problem. If you study this in depth, it does not necessarily mean that you will be a good artist. Alternatively, if you don't understand the principles of colour at all, it does not mean that you will be a bad artist. However, it is useful to know the basics in order to understand colour descriptions and references, which I will make throughout this course. The primary colours are red, yellow and blue, and they appear in the centre of the colour wheel. There are no other words to describe these colours. In theory, all other colours can be made from mixtures of these colours. Other colours are named after objects within the real world: fruit, lemons, oranges, flowers, roses, lavender, the landscape, grass, trees, the earth, ochre, gold. Camille Pissarro was a central figure in the Impressionist group and is often referred to as the father of Impressionism. He was unique among the French Impressionists for his interest in painting the suburbs of London. The areas he painted ranged from Northwood and Crystal Palace in South London to the Serpentine in Hyde Park and Kew in West London. He was an unlikely cricket enthusiast and painted an impromptu game that took place on Kew Green late one summer afternoon. As you can see, as with most of the Impressionist painters, Pissarro uses a primary palette that is mixtures of the primary colours, which is the palette we will be using throughout the introductory watercolour course. One of the most famous Impressionist painters is Claude Monet. When the general public first saw his paintings in Paris, there was an outcry as they were so different from anything seen before. A famous quote by Monet, "More than anything, I must have flowers, always, always," is reflected in these paintings of aspects of his garden, which looked to people at the time as random blobs of colour with no form. To us now we see very clear, beautiful images. Indeed, nowadays reproduction of Monet's paintings appear on greetings cards, stationery, tea towels, calendars, chocolate boxes, etc., which demonstrates how visually educated we have become. As you can see from these examples of his work, he uses a primary palette of colours, which is what we will be using throughout this introductory course.